My spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Dairyland's podcast, where we cover everything paranormal, spooky, and mysterious in the Midwest and beyond. And guess what? I have my friends back, my paranormal friends from Exspiravit. Paranormal. I nailed it.
Yes, you
I
did.
nailed it. So, I know some of you might be listening for the first time. Please go back and listen to some of my favorite episodes. They are one of my favorite paranormal groups. I'm going to introduce you really quickly. We have Jackie. Hey,
Hi.
Jackie. Renee. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
Nick. Hey,
Hello.
Nick. And Troy, who our last episode, if you guys listened to, he was a newer member. So
Right.
I'm glad that everything is stuck on. You guys are together. That is very special because, I know it's kind of hard. Paranormal groups, everybody has lives and, maybe they don't meet what you're looking for or whatever it might be. But the other thing is go back and listen to, by the way, one of our most listened to episodes in our top 10 is when they went to the Sally House. And they caught some EVPs that were very interesting. By the way, just really quickly, if you guys listen to it, you got to listen carefully. I tried to do my best I don't have a professional studio, folks. I'm sorry. But I try to do my best to kind of make the sound where it is and everything, but go back and listen to it. But we had a lot of people listen to it, a lot of guesses. The weirdest guess, let me just tell you guys quickly before we get into your just wonderful new explorations and investigations. These are the weird guesses we had. We had guesses that it was a dog, like a dog got in there. I don't know what that's coming from. So you guys, if you guys want to talk about that. So we got a dog. We got, it's one of like Renee or Troy or Nick, like just making noise near the microphone. And I'm like, okay. And then we got demons. Demons was the consensus. Then we also got, what was the other weird one? The other weird one was the owners coming in and messing with you guys. Like they saw you leave. So anything from dogs to demons to you guys faking it to owners coming in and like messing with you guys. But but most people were like, wow, that's freaky. Like that's weird that they got that sound because again, the Sally House is kind of hit or miss as we talked about. So yeah, so I love it, and I love having you guys back on to talk about what you guys have been doing while you've been off the podcast or doing your own thing.
Well, we're definitely happy to be back on, and it is interesting to hear the variety of responses that people have given you about that EVP. But one thing to remember is we were gone. Like this is about 10 minutes into the recording after we left. So it definitely
we were gone for a good hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. So it wasn't any of us. We can tell you that.
Right. And in the meantime, while I've been talking like mediums and stuff like that, they're interested in going to it. And I'm like, well, please reach out to Jackie or Renee or Troy or Nick and ask them. I'm sure you guys are open for someone reaching out to you guys and getting your full experience of what you thought. Because I also talked about the Villisca axe murder house. And it was really interesting, Jackie, or I don't know which one of you guys mentioned it. And again, go back and listen to the episode where you guys thought it was kind of like dead, for lack of a better word. Like there was no like, you guys didn't get anything, right? Am I correct on that, or am I wrong with the Villisca?
You're correct.
Yeah.
It was a slow night.
Yeah.
Quiet night.
Right.
Yeah, very quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to say it's not haunted.
Yeah.
But for us, it seemed like they weren't there. I don't know.
Here, you want to hear my dumb theory on it? Here's a dumb theory that actually had mediums agree with me on this. Is they're just sick of people coming in there, right? They're tired of it. It's like us. It's like, over the holidays, and this is a weird analogy, so bear with me. Over the holidays, everyone's coming to your house and you're doing your thing. After a while, you're like, can you just leave?
Yeah, you're tired of hosting.
Yeah, can I just sit on the couch and just chill out, man, and just eat pretzels and have a wine or whatever you want, right? And this one medium I talked to, she was like, yeah, they were people in former lives. So if you just keep bombarding them, hey, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, show me something, talk to me. Like, no, I don't want to. Right? I'm not in the mood. And, we've all been there. So I just thought that was just really interesting. Anything you guys wanted to bring up before we get on to your new investigations about the Sally house or Melissa before we move on?
Not that I can think of.
Nothing that I can think of either. How about you, Jackie?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we're going to be talking about My Haunted Manor today and Gettysburg. I think we're always at the last minute planning our next adventure. But I know we're going to be going back out sometime in March-April timeframe. So stay tuned.
Nice.
But
nice.
yeah, I can't really think of anything else.
Okay, great. So let's get right into it. Where do we want to start? Who wants to start? Manor House, Gettysburg. Where do we want to start?
Why don't we start with Gettysburg? Kind of go in order.
Okay. So who wants to begin in the conversation, and then people, like I said, you can chime in however you want to found some of the, I guess, very interesting, crazy findings you guys had.
I guess I'll start. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So Troy and I started off our adventure with Gettysburg. We booked the Farnsworth House Inn. And as soon as I kind of stepped foot in there, I'm like, all right, this is haunted. We originally didn't have the most haunted room. And I got in there and I realized that my friend actually owned the place and managed the place. So she kind of got us into the most haunted room, which was the Sarah Black room. When I tell you, as soon as we got in there, things it felt very off. I knew there was a woman in there. I knew we were being watched. And the best part about it was the entire night, somebody was messing around with Troy and I. And it got to the point where I kind of, around 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like, just stop. Go mess with him for a while. And sure enough, you want to explain what happened, Troy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's other things we could talk about that happened previous to us trying to sleep, but this is probably the craziest stuff that happened. Nick was on the bed, I was on a cot, and some spirit was messing with him first. We weren't fully asleep yet or anything like that. We were just talking, and he just jumped.
Sorry, not to interrupt you, Troy, but messing with you. What do you mean by messing?
Touching us.
What do you mean by? Oh,
We were being touched. I had a hand being run down my back the entire night. I woke up to a woman standing at the foot of the bed. She didn't have a face. I just saw eyes, but there was no face there.
Oh.
Yes. So
freaked me.
So he was on the bed, I was on the cot, and he just kind of jumped up and he was like, something just ran its finger up my back. And I was like, okay, good. You're over there. They're messing with you. So I don't know how long after that it was or how many times it happened to you first, Nick, but it happened 3 or 4 times to him.
I would say.
Yeah. And then I guess it was at that point he asked them to stop. So then I guess they were going to mess with me. I don't remember what time it was, but I had rolled over onto my right side and my back was exposed. And then it did it to me and I jumped up. So I told Nick, I'm like, all right, well, now they're messing with me. So I'm like, I'm just going to sleep on my back the rest of the night because obviously the spirit likes playing with people's backs. And so I was laying on my back, and I would say about 20 minutes later, it just pokes me right in the foot. And so I jumped up again, and he's like, what? And because we were jumping because you just don't know when it's going to happen. That's the freaky part of it.
Wow.
It's like a jump scare in a movie. You don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it pokes me in the foot, and I jumped up, which caused him to jump. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it just poked me in the foot now. And so then we both asked, respectively, can you please stop messing with us? We're trying to sleep. So then it was around 5 a.m., right around 5 a.m. I woke up and it sounded by the way, we didn't tell you this. We were the only 2 people in the building. No one else had booked the rooms, any of the other rooms, and they don't have staff in the building overnight or anything like that. When you check in at the bookstore, which is right next door to it, and then they give you the key to get in. But there was no staff and there were no other people staying there that night. So it was just him and I. And I woke up around 5 a.m. and it sounded like someone was dragging something, like luggage or I don't know what, like out near the stairwell or in the hallway. And I just looked over and he was sleeping. So I'm like, you know what? I'm over all this. I'm not even going to wake him up. So yeah, that happened at like 5 a.m. But I mean, the whole night was just very, very active out there. I mean, I don't, what's that haunted bridge, covered bridge?
It's covered bridge. Troy and I went out. We'll preface this beforehand. I said, let's go get something to eat. I'm hungry. So let's kind of set up some equipment. So we have Troy's equipment case open and I left a cat ball on the bed. Okay. On the bed.
Yeah.
And I said, Troy and I were going to leave. We're going to leave a recorder going. Do something. Just mess with us, move things around. We want to communicate with you. Mind you, the key that opens the side door is an old skeleton key. And the room that you have to use, the key that you have to use to get into the room that we had is the same skeleton key. So we kept the key with us and we're out about, we went to dinner, we went to Sachs Covered Bridge. And as we're on Sachs Covered Bridge, mind you, it's about 20 degrees, a little bit windy, and it had just snowed. So it's cold. And we're on there and I'm like, nothing's happening. There's nothing here. 30 seconds later, I'm filming and I hear 2 gunshots.
Ooh.
One, boom. I look at Troy, he looks at me, okay, you heard that, right? Yeah. We continue to start walking. Again, it sounds like a rifle goes off again. And where the Sachs Covered Bridge is, it goes back up to actual homes. They're not historic homes or anything, it's just Gettysburg homes. So you can't really shoot a gun in someone's backyard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Now where Sachs Covered Bridge is, it's also covered by a wheat field. And it's, it's ponds and a little bit of lakes and rivers. So I'm like, all right, what was that we just heard? And how come we both heard it? And it was distinctly in front of us, but it sounded so far away. So after that, we just kind of decided to drive around the battlefield at night, which you're not supposed to do, but we did it anyway.
The gates were not locked, so that's on them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, gates are locked.
Yeah. Yes. Disclaimer.
Dusk, and we were just trying to drive around, and hopefully we didn't get caught. But if we did, oh well. But we come back to Farnsworth House Inn, and I open the door to our room, and sure enough, there's a cat ball sitting on top of the bed canopy. Almost as if we know we locked that door.
Yeah.
We know we're the only ones in that home.
Right.
Someone had to physically get on that bed and put that cat ball on top of that canopy. And the cat ball was going off.
Wow.
And it's
wow.
So I come to find out
it's odd because
there's a spirit.
As soon as we got in the room. Oh, sorry. No, as soon as we got in the room, the first thing we did was we opened up our bags and our suitcases on the bed with our equipment. And where the cat ball had been was like 2 feet from like my head. We would have seen it. It was not up there before we left. So I don't know how to explain that.
Jackie, you want to say something?
Yeah, so the boys got to go on this trip. This is the day before we went to my haunted manor. So they're texting our group chat, blow by blow, like everything going on. And when he sent me the video showing me the cat ball, I went back to some photos they sent me when they first checked into the room.
Yeah.
To see, like, maybe it was there from another guest,
Sure.
that was maybe there a couple days before them. You zoom in on the canopy of the bed and there's nothing there. So that kind of supports the fact that it wasn't there prior to them checking in, and it's not like they missed seeing it. Like, that was new.
Right. So
Right.
upon knowing the history of the Farnsworth House and take into consideration that there was a little boy, Jeremy, who actually haunts the entire building. He's about 6 years old.
Yes.
And his backstory is he died 1863, 1862, around that time. He was trampled by a horse. They used to go, run up to horses and try to pet him to scare him. He was actually trampled by a horse, and he died in the Sarah Black room, which was the original nursery of that home. So my whole correlation to that was, okay, there's a child in here. A woman's not going to hop up on that bed and play with a cat ball. A child is. So I kind of just had that in my head the entire night that Jeremy was the one playing with the cat ball, but I don't think a child is going to run a hand down my back.
Mm-hmm.
But then we went into the basement of the Farnsworth House, and there's supposedly a portal in that basement with a mirror, which if you've seen the episode with Amy and Adam from Kindred Spirits, the mirror itself is haunted, but the wood that surrounds the mirror is also haunted. I didn't really pick up on anything in that basement, but I was looking around at the dead children on the wall, post-mortem pictures, and there are dead kids in that basement, but also along the wall are all these post-mortem photographs. And I'm like, all right, so maybe the mirror being down here is causing all that energy around to activate something.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Troy, didn't we hear some kind of pop in that basement where the tour guide, what was that too?
Yeah, we did. For the most part, it didn't seem too active down there when we were there, but we were with two other individuals. They were showing us pictures that they took down there previously on the tour. And you could see like a child's hand shoot out from one of the pews. It's set up like an old funeral down there.
Yeah.
And so they were showing us pictures and everything like that. Nothing too crazy happened when we were down there, but yeah, we did hear a weird like popping sound kind of right before we decided to leave the basement.
The sound to me was almost like an old radiator turning on, like an old gas radiator just kind of clicking on.
Yeah. But
that's the way I could describe it.
At the same time, our tour guide, she said that's not a normal sound that you usually hear down there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it was interesting.
So, help me out here, and my spooky friends. Is this was considered a mortuary down there, or was it just like during the war where where they could find a place? That's where they put the soldiers or the children and just operated on them, and it is what it is.
So the Farnsworth House, historically, it was, home. Multiple families lived in it. It was a makeshift hospital. It was a makeshift theater at one time for entertainment purposes. But also, like you said, soldiers would just hide out in that basement just to, take shelter, take cover. We're hiding in here and we're waiting. So I don't really don't know what the purpose of the pews are down there. Yeah. But it is set up like an old church, like an old funeral home.
Yeah. And describe the pictures for me. I'm guessing it's the scary pictures you see when you go into an old home where where all the kids are like staring wide-eyed at the camera with no expression, and it's creepy as hell. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, they're your typical sepia photographs. 1860s. They're just creepy. There, and they're probably from 5 years old to 12, 13 years old. Boys and girls, and they're dead. They're dead.
Wow.
It's just that blank stare in the photograph. Yeah. And they're plastered up on the walls. And then there's these drawings, too, of the dead children.
Oh, man.
What is going on down here? It's cool, but it's also kind of sad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like, here's all the dead kids that died down here. What do you think? What am I supposed to think? This is horrible. Like, why would you put this down here? No wonder it's crazy down there. Unbelievable. Did you guys, not to interrupt your story, but did you guys get a feeling you were being watched? Did you get a feeling of maybe something else that you guys were like, obviously something down there?
I didn't get anything when I was down in the basement, but I will say this. As soon as Troy and I walked into the home, you have to go up this very tight staircase. And then it goes to a very small foyer almost. I was pushed up that staircase. I felt someone physically just, go. Like, you got to continue to go up now. So that was the first thing that I witnessed. And then I also didn't realize that snipers hid out in the attic while everything was going on, and that the bullet that killed Jenny Wade came from that house. Jenny Wade was the only civilian who was killed during the Battle of Gettysburg while baking bread for soldiers. She was shot in the back. Yeah. And the bullet that killed her came from that home. I didn't know that until we actually went on the tour.
Wow.
So I felt watched. And like I said, I did wake up to a woman at the foot of the bed. I didn't see a face. I just saw eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
well, yeah, he woke up and he's like, "There's a woman at the end of the bed. She has no face." And I'm like, after everything that's happened tonight, why wouldn't there be at this point? So just like
Troy,
whatever at this point.
Troy, I love your attitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
After getting messed with all night, like I wasn't surprised. I wasn't afraid. I'm just like, are they going to let us sleep or no? No. So,
Guys, Troy and Nicholas, be honest with me. Were either one of you going, I'm going to sleep in my car. Or I'm going to sleep in the car. I'm not going to do it unless he does it. I don't want to be a wimp. I'm not wimping out of this. You wimp out. Was it any kind of like that? Or you guys like Troy said, it's par for the course.
I was just like, you know what? We've spent nights in worse locations, colder places, more haunted locations. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we were guests in their home essentially, and
sure.
Yeah, let it run its course.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't afraid or anything. I was just kind of getting annoyed because you didn't know when they were going to touch you, and it's like that's what was most annoying. So at one point, I did actually think about going to find a diner and just drink coffee till the morning because I was getting so annoyed. But it stopped once we asked them to stop, and then once Nick saw that woman, I was just like, I'm over it.
Jack,
I'm just gonna try and sleep now.
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in that keep in mind Troy has never experienced anything like this before. Wow. And we always joke with him, we're like, man, had you been with us a couple of years ago, you would have had all these experiences up to this date or up to this Gettysburg trip. He was like, I just want to have something crazy happen to me. And I got to tell you, like, I've been doing this, 4 years, and I still don't know what a touch feels like. So for him to say, I'm getting touched all night, it goes to say something because he wouldn't know what he's looking for or what he's feeling. But it was hilarious for me and Renee being at home, and we're having serious FOMO listening to all this in the group chat. And even Renee was like, man, I wish I could be so honored to be touched. I haven't experienced that one yet. And Troy is like, well, then you go to the touching room next time. So we have this joke that next time the girls, we're gonna stay in that Sarah Black room, and we're gonna get touched.
We will.
It was kind of funny how Troy and Nick were both like, stupid spirits wouldn't let us sleep last night. And I'm like, gee, I wish I had that problem. It was just kind of funny, that we've been doing this for 4 years. Troy comes in, he gets touched, and we're just like, okay.
I love
Lucky
that.
you.
Yeah, and by the way, Troy, I love that you said annoyed because I'm thinking, I don't know if all of us have kids here, but if you have little kids or when your kids were little, what did they do? Mommy, 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 it's time to get up. Or daddy, daddy, it's time to give up. And you're like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Go back to sleep, right? That's what I would have said. I would have been like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Go back to sleep, and there's no one there. That's what the cool thing is. Troy and Nick, I'm going to get back to you in a sec here. Let's go. I want to know this real time because this is, I think, really interesting, be interesting for my audience. So Jackie and Renee, you're literally, let me see if I understand this correctly. You're in your group chat. I'm guessing you're on your phones, right? And you're going, no way. Come on. What? Come on. Are you doing that? Or what are you guys doing?
Yes, that's exactly what was happening. They even FaceTimed me at 11 o'clock at night while they were downstairs of the Farnsworth investigating. And you could hear footsteps upstairs. It was so loud I could hear it through the phone. So we did a little virtual investigation to loop me in. But yeah.
I love that. And I love both you, Jackie and Renee. I love your attitude. Hey, next time it's my turn to be annoyed, okay?
That's what
we definitely wanted a play-by-play when they were at the Farnsworth. We're like, keep us in the loop. Let us know when you go live, we wanted
Speaking
details.
of live,
Go
I
ahead, Nick.
tried to actually go live on Instagram. If you guys remember that, I was on live.
Yes.
We got the tax covered bridge, and it wiped from our Instagram feed. And I
That's
couldn't.
right.
I went on there,
It-
and I remember Renee popped in. And I said, "Hey, girl, like we're at Saks Covered Bridge. It's freezing
Yep.
out here."
It was, yeah, you guys were like, it's so cold. Like, you didn't stay on very long at all.
I was probably on like maybe 2 minutes, but as soon as I tried to post it, it wiped from the entire feed. It's not in the archives. It's nowhere. It's not on my phone. So I'm like, all right, maybe.
Wow.
And I kind of go back to maybe we're outside. It's windy. There really wasn't a lot of connection there, but most of the time when you're doing an Instagram live and it doesn't post, it's going to end up in the archive section of Instagram and it's going to be there. It wasn't there at all. So there was definitely something with us that entire night. I mean, Gettysburg is one of the most haunted towns in Pennsylvania, in America, even. But still, there's definitely cool energy there.
Yeah. Yeah. This sounds like an amazing experience, and I just love you guys' attitude. Like I said, I would be the one at the diner having the coffee and being like, I can't do this anymore. So kudos to you guys. The guys are brave enough, and Jackie and Renee were going like, what? Come on. This isn't fair.
Yeah, we missed out on that night. I'm disappointed.
To add something funny, though, my husband is the biggest skeptic, right? I think over the years of me doing this, he's starting to have moments where he's like, I feel like I've heard her say this before, and this is kind of weird, right? So I show him the video that Nick sent me where he shows, hey, guys, look, the cat ball was in the suitcase on the bed. We come back to our room after going out, and now the cat ball's up on the canopy bed. So I show it to my husband, and his jaw drops, and he's just like, okay, one of the guys had to put it there. There's just no physical way. No, there's no way. And I'm like, why would Nick or Troy do that?
Yeah, why?
Like these guys would not fake anything. So even he didn't have a logical explanation other than someone physically put it there. Yeah. And I think, Troy, I don't know if you mentioned this, but you said you went back through your recorder and you could hear somebody in there, right?
Yeah, my notes.
His notes. Yeah.
There were like knocks, and it sounded like there was a woman humming at certain points on the audio. So, yeah. Well, the one thing that was not so awesome is that the room was right up from the main street. So you heard like a lot of cars and motorcycles and things. But yeah, from what I heard, there was like at one point there was 5 knocks in a row, and close to a minute there was a woman humming. So we got some stuff in that room that night while we were out.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, do you have anything to add with that too?
Other than the fact that that place is haunted, and if people get to go and experience it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who it was that was touching us, but I do know it was a woman because Troy has his dead bell, which is a piece of equipment. And I said, I want you to hit once if you're a male. It doesn't do anything. I said, all right, then do 2 times if you're a woman. And the entire time that I'm having a conversation with it, it's going off. It's getting louder. And it's just constant dinging. Ding, 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 ding. I said, step away. Ding, ding. Okay, all right, you're female. There's some female here. Go. That's all I have to say about the Farnsworth House. Go and book the Sarah Black Room. You'll have fun.
I think it's also worth mentioning, I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but in the Sarah Black Room, did Jeremy not die in the bathroom?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh. He died in the bathroom, good point, Jackie, thank you, was the original nursery of the house.
Okay.
And you can kind of see where, the nursery probably was, because there are some you can see the outline of the old door in the wall in that bathroom, and you can kind of see where they knocked out things and converted it.
Yeah.
But he did die in that home, and the last words that his father said to him were, "Please don't leave me."
Oh.
And the poor babe did die in that house, yeah.
Oh,
They have a room dedicated to him, which is you go out of the Sarah Black Room, you go down the little steps and into the hall. right at the staircase is the Jeremy room. But I mean, I think whoever he is, there's no pictures of him in existence. Maybe there is, maybe they just haven't found it yet. But he haunts that entire strip of Gettysburg. The street, the Dobbins house, which is right up the street from the Farnsworth House, in the restaurant in the Farnsworth House. There's it's active in there.
Just curious. I know in some haunted rooms, they keep journals. Does anyone? Was there a journal kept of like people's experiences in that room? I'm just curious.
Not in the room, but when you go into the front foyer of the house, you kind of go out, and then there's like the front staircase, which is right outside the door, that goes down into the the dining room area. There's a guest book there, and people have just signed it, just left their emails, left their names, and reviews. But there was really nothing more on the paranormal. It was just kind of the restaurant aspect for that.
Yeah, interesting. What's interesting to me on this too is sometimes I go check out haunted rooms because I want to spend a time in a haunted room, especially the Stanley Hotel. My buddy lives in Denver, and I want to spend a night in the room where Jim Carrey, yes, that Jim Carrey, went running out in his underwear when he was filming Dumb and Dumber. He went running out in his underwear because he was so scared. And they eventually got a room up there. Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty bad. But yeah, I was just curious about that. People left journals or anything. Or like I said, you go on like Expedia or whatever the other people will put like, oh, we're in this room and da-da-da, this happened, that happened in there.
Jackie, didn't you have you read a woman who reviewed the room?
Yes,
Okay,
I was just thinking of that. If you
Okay,
go
there we
on
go.
Google, if you Google the Farnsworth Inn, this woman wrote something and I sent it to the boys and I was like, poor Barbara. Like she was like, hold on, let me see if I can find it because it was hilarious.
They were messing with her all night too.
She was
Same thing.
I think
Yeah.
it was
You
the
guys
same
remember?
room.
Like
Same
touching
room,
and
kind of same thing.
like touching and just
Do you
offensive
think
being
it's so? You think it's a mother and the son? Because obviously, touching your feet is kind of a little kid's thing. At least my kids would
yeah.
do that.
I have no
They would,
idea.
they would
but-
like poke my feet. Come on, Dad. Come on, Dad. And I'll be like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I do know that the history of the room, it was named after one of the previous owners. So Sarah Black was a previous owner of the Farnsworth House. Her parents owned it. You know, she was born in that home, from what I've read. And in that room, there is a 1920s photograph of Sarah Black, probably on the back wall. But then on the side of the room, there is this maybe 1840s, 1850s photograph, like tintype picture of, I'm assuming, her parents. So I don't know who's haunting that room, but it's definitely a woman, and it's definitely, she's not mad.
right.
It's just,
it doesn't seem like it's evil.
she's here.
Right?
It's residual.
Yeah, it's residual. And maybe a little intelligent too, right? A little intelligent haunting.
I would think so.
Yeah, right? Jackie, have you found that yet? Or if not, that's okay.
I found one. It wasn't the same one, but this lady, maybe it was this one. It says her name was Bernadette. The ghosts were not welcoming. I was terrified on the first night. Can't go back because I am too sensitive. I can't describe how it felt when it touched my legs. We hid under the covers, but it didn't deter the ghost. So much noise coming from the attic, which the boys said the same thing.
Yep.
Staff was great. We tried to stay in the tavern to avoid going back to the Sarah Black room, which is the room the boys stayed in. The next night, I blessed the room with holy water and prayed. We left the TV on all night, and it helped. If you want to sleep with ghosts, then stay there.
Oh, wow. I love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Left the TV on all night so the little boys watching Paw Patrol or something. This is good.
Distract them.
Yeah, I guess. But I heard, like, you guys help me out here, but I heard when you put like a TV on in your room that the ghosts can use that for energy to manifest themselves or mess with you even more. I don't know if I'm right.
We
Just
had the
throwing it
TV
out
on
there.
while
Oh, okay.
while all
There you
this was
go.
happening. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're watching Below Deck, so I mean, maybe she likes Below Deck. Who knows?
So the other thing is, I'm curious, do you guys have to sign a waiver when you go in that room? Or are they just like,
Yeah.
it is what it is, guys?
Did you sign a waiver? I don't remember.
I think
We
we did
signed
when we
something.
checked in. I think we did when we checked in. We signed a waiver.
Because
Yeah.
I would imagine there's no refund. You know you're going in there, right? I mean, they're not going to be like, okay, here you go.
Well, apparently Bernadette didn't know what she was in for. But
Bernadette, hey, Bernadette, if you hear this, dairylandfrights@gmail.com. We'll want to hear your story.
yeah, we knew
awesome.
what we were getting ourselves into.
Right.
I
You
didn't
should.
know it was going to be that crazy, but
Wow.
yeah, it was definitely an
Wow.
awesome night.
Wow. So what other Gettysburg? Anything else about Gettysburg you guys like want to talk about before we move on to the Manor House?
Nothing to recall from that night. We want to go back.
Yeah.
We're trying to go back. So
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Gettysburg, I know, is kind of a holy grail for a lot of paranormal investigators, so I'm glad you guys got to go. I just had Emily, she does her own paranormal investigating on it and everything, and she was out there years ago. This is my Gettysburg story because I've never been to Gettysburg. She was out there years ago with her son, and they were like walking around, and they were getting to this one place where it's one of the bloodiest battles, something Old Hilltop or something, I can't remember.
Little Round Top.
Little Round Top?
Yes, thank you. And they were getting around there, and the son was climbing on the rocks as a little kid, climbing on the rocks. Mom's watching, and then all of a sudden, her son comes down and she goes, "Mommy, there's a soldier over there." And she goes, well, "What do you mean, honey?" She goes, "There's a soldier over there." And they were doing reenactments during that year, and she was like, "Oh, it's probably a reenactor." And she goes, "Yeah, he looked at me really weird. Didn't have a face." I don't know what the face thing is with Gettysburg.
Oh my gosh.
So she goes over with her son, thinking it's some guy messing with him, like, "Hey man, come on, this little kid." And I go over, and she sees this like Confederate soldier, or could be a Union soldier. I don't know exactly which one, but he was just standing there, staring blankly ahead, and then he turned around and looked at him straight in the eye, and she goes, "He had no face." And they both, of course, "Okay, let's go. And she said that was before they were in the paranormal, and that's what got her started in the paranormal. Before, she was more into history, and she said she'd never forget it that this soldier looking at her with no face, like, holy shit, that's scary. And people have seen that all over the grounds. I don't know if you guys will ever get to that. Eventually, I hope you do, so I can have some more stories to share on the podcast where where they see soldiers just wandering around, some decapitated, some just wandering around because they don't know where to go. They're just lost for whatever reason.
Yeah, I hear that like a lot of people that have gone there think it's just people doing a reenactment, but
yes,
they're ghosts. So that's like a common thing that I hear from people that have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially around some of the bloodiest battles, I've seen people say they've gone into the field and like no birds chirping, no wind, no nothing. It's just dead silent, nothing. And then they walk out of it and the wind is fine, the birds are chirping, and they're like, "Man, that's creepy. That's really creepy."
yeah,
So yeah, it's a great place.
it really was cool at night to drive through some of the fields, but the entire time I was worried about getting caught by the police. So I'm like having a meltdown. Nick's trying to take pictures of like the woods and stuff. And it really was creepy in there at night, but yeah, I was distracted by my fear of the police. So
yeah, I hear you. I don't know what to find. That's why every paranormal investigator, when they're talking about they're going to places, not to pick on you guys, but I always say if it's private property or something, it's probably best to go to the local police department or wherever you're going to be, maybe the former owners, and say, "Hey, is it okay we investigate here?" So you don't have a cop coming and shining the light in your face and giving you a big ticket.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, we are finding that there are some challenges to properly investigating in Gettysburg. So aside from booking a room at some of these places like the Tilly Pierce house or the Farnsworth, you're kind of limited as to where you are allowed to go to investigate. So you can go to Sachs Covered Bridge. You cannot investigate on the field at night. I mean, you could do it during the day, right? But it is closed off at night. It's illegal to do that at night. So I was watching the Paranormal Files. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
Colin.
Colin. Yeah, Colin. I can't believe it. I'm getting old. So I was just watching some videos that he did about a year ago in Gettysburg. And there are some properties that Gettysburg Paranormal Association has access to, one of which is like a murder house. This woman, I want to say her name was Deborah. She was killed in the 70s in this house, and they were able to get access to it through Gettysburg Paranormal Association. So I've been trying to reach out to them because on their website, they list several locations. There's like a schoolhouse that's close to the actual battlefield. There's several other things they have access to, but no one's getting back to us. So it's kind of challenging. So that's why, as much as Renee and I want to go back, it's like we're in the dead of winter. We're kind of limited what we can do other than maybe go to Sachs Covered Bridge at night. And then there's a spot behind the Gettysburg Middle School. You can kind of get close to the field without going on it.
Sneak around.
And then there's After Dark Investigations. They are responsive. I went on one of their trips. One of their paranormal investigations years ago. There goes my dog. But again, they're limited to the outside. So if you're going in the dead of winter, it's kind of hard to investigate there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that maybe you guys could try too, I think would be really interesting is, I don't know if this would help or not, but like cursed objects of Gettysburg, because there are a lot of things where people have said, rifles, swords, something in the museums, I don't know if that'd be even easier to get, but something to check out. Because I know I listen to this one podcast called Haunted Objects. And they just talk about haunted objects. And they talk about there was this Gettysburg, there was like this bayonet. And anyone who touches this bayonet, like your life goes off the rails. It's like people around you die, get into car accidents. It's insane. And just by touching it. And what's funny about that show is they actually touch it and then nothing happens to them. So I'm like, okay.
Well, I believe Gettysburg Paranormal Association, they do have a haunted... Was it like a museum of some sort? And they probably have haunted objects in there. Again, not having trouble getting a hold of them. So that is always an option. Yeah.
Maybe we'll tag team them, Jack.
Yeah.
We'll tag team them and see if we can get them on.
Yes.
And have everyone on here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, John, I'm glad you brought that up. So I actually have one of my ancestors' guns from the Civil War, and I wanted to take it to Gettysburg the next time we go out there.
Nice.
Both from a historical aspect to see if I can or take it to a museum or something and just have someone tell me more about it, but then also to see if it triggers anything paranormal.
Sure.
I'm out there. So
yeah, that would be really cool. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
So if there's not anything else about Gettysburg, let's move on to your next one, huh? Let's talk about that, shall we?
Yeah.
So whoever wants to start.
Jackie, Renee.
So we went to the Samuel Miller Mansion. Just to give a little backstory about it. So it was built around 1820 for Samuel Miller. He was a prominent businessman and philanthropist. He was also involved in various industries, including the railroad, which basically helped Columbia become the key transportation hub during the 19th century. So after that, it was owned by the Columbia Bank and Bridge Company. They also owned the Wrightsville Bridge. So the Wrightsville Bridge is famous because during the Civil War time, there was this famous burning of the bridge. So Union soldiers had met at this Samuel Miller mansion to discuss how are we going to prevent the Confederates from coming into this town and taking over the town? So they met with a bunch of engineers and they were going to blow up the bridge. So they had set some charges out. I think they only anticipated blowing half of it up. So when they set the charges and they detonated, nothing happened because the bridge was built so well. And at that time, I believe it was the longest covered bridge at that time, like in, at that point in history. So they went kind of back to the drawing board and decided to strap like kegs of gunpowder to the bridge, and they blew the whole thing down.
Wow.
So that's what prevented the Confederates from taking over the town. And that's basically, from what we were told, that's what started the Battle of Gettysburg, was the burning of that bridge. The building also has ties to the Underground Railroad. In fact, when we were in the basement, one of the first tunnels to the Underground Railroad started in that basement. It was crazy. So after the Columbia Bank and Bridge Company moved out of that building, then it became Brennanman's feed mill. So that was to provide feed for the horse and carriages during the nights, and the business flourished. But once cars were, the first automobile were introduced, they pretty much went out of business because everybody was driving cars. And then after that, it became a toy company called the Baker Toy Company. So they had manufactured a lot of toys for so many decades. And then now it's an art printing company. That's what it is now. So we got to take a tour of the printing shop. So we saw a lot of the old printing presses with the typecase letter. Kind of reminded me, if you ever saw the movie Goonies when they're printing the fake money. It was exactly like that. So he demonstrated one of the presses for us. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And what did were you able to do an investigation, or what did you guys find there?
Yeah, so one of the things that makes the Samuel Miller Mansion so unique is that it was added to the My Haunted Manor franchise. So My Haunted project originated in the UK. There's a team of guys out there who started a YouTube series where they have cameras set up all over these locations in the United Kingdom, and they decided to select the Samuel Miller Mansion as their first United States location because of how active it is. So Daryl Marston from Ghost Hunters franchise and the Bader brothers, Jeff and Trey, they kind of run the show there. So if you go on My Haunted Project on YouTube, you can watch excerpts from public investigations. And like I said, they have cameras all throughout the mansion. So it's kind of like you're on a reality show where you're investigating and you've got your professional control room set up, and we had to sign release forms to be on the show if our footage is selected. If you watch one of the episodes, really, it's kind of like a montage of highlights from all these investigations that people go on. So, if something happens on your investigation and they want to feature it, you could be featured. So there's no guarantees, but you do have to sign a release form either way for your image to be on their show. So that was fun. And I think from the moment we got there, we were just welcomed with open arms. I mean, because it's run by investigators and created by them, you get to sleep there. They have cots for you. There's places to sit all throughout the mansion, whereas other locations you go to, you got to bring your own little portable stool because you're sitting on the cold floor and God knows what asbestos and rat droppings. So they definitely make sure you're comfortable while you're there. There's no heat in the actual mansion other than in the base area. And they have these little heaters set up, little fireplaces. It's really cute and it's very welcoming. They even bought us pizza.
They had a whole bunch of drinks and everything for us, which was cool.
Yeah, you don't get that kind of treatment anywhere else. So
no.
Yeah. So yeah, once we got started, we just kind of figured we split off into 2 groups, right? So it was me and Renee. We went upstairs to the children's room. Of course, there's always a haunted children's room in these places, you know? And I'm being moms, we gravitate to the children's room. Her and I went up to the children's room. They give you walkie-talkies to take with you. So that way, if anything happens or you hear something, you can radio Trey in the control room, tell him what time it is, and that kind of timestamps things for him to go back to later, which was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So Renee and I are in the children's room. Nick and Troy decide to go to the basement where the Underground Railroad tunnel used to be. So I don't know how we want to do this. I guess because like things were popping off this whole night. So Renee and I are up in the kids' room. At this investigation, we were the first group to be introduced to a haunted doll that I believe Daryl brought to the property. It's set up in this like little coffin in a red light, and it's just creepy. It's so creepy. We're just staring at this doll through the hallway while we're sitting in the children's room. And we specifically told Trey, don't tell us the name of the doll. Let's see if we can figure it out, you know, through our investigation. So the whole night we're calling her Dolly. We don't know her real name. So Renee and I, there's a clip on our Instagram. So everything that we're mentioning here today is on our Instagram. We posted videos so that way you can see what we're talking about and hear it for yourself at Exspiravit Paranormal. There is a clip. You see me on the floor. Renee's filming. And I say, I'm feeling a breeze of cold air coming through. We're getting some names on our spirit talker. And then I said, oh, is that you, Dolly? Because we were starting to hear some weird noises. And I was like, is that you, Dolly? And you hear an audible.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like
wow.
that. Yeah. And you can see the look on my face. I'm like, shut the F up. You know, like, what? So I radio Trey and I tell him what the time is. I was like, we heard an audible no. I think we heard a couple more things after that, too. I don't even know how to describe it. Were they like moans?
Yeah, it was. Now, granted, they have a cat on the property, but
Right.
she was locked in like the printing area, which was on the other side
Yeah.
of where we were. So we wanted to make sure like it's not the cat. I mean, we're on the second floor. The cat would have been on the first floor on the other side. There's no way, because it literally sounded like the no was coming from the next room over from where Jackie and I were doing our investigation.
Or like from the heavens somewhere. And
Somewhere.
I think I did ask him, I said, hey, where is Spooky? That's the name of the cat. And he's like, oh, well, she's locked down over in the, where the boys are. And I'm like, there's
And
just
she's not a meowy kind of cat either.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
I
No,
know,
the whole
very
time we were there, I don't think we ever heard her meow.
No.
She's stealthy, that thing. That thing is very stealthy.
I know. So that's what I love about it, is that you could radio and be like, hey, where is everybody? Because Trey can see where everybody is. And you can get real-time feedback on whether or not it was somebody else in your group or if there's a logical explanation for this. Meanwhile, we're up there. Then the boys are down in the basement doing a little EVP session. Nick, why don't you talk about who you picked up on?
Well, wait a minute. So before, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
So
go ahead.
while we're investigating, at the same time, Nick and Troy are in the basement. They're hearing heavy footsteps on the first floor, right above them, and then that was also captured on videos, and it's posted on our Instagram. Right in the beginning, you hear like boots walking, thump thump. It freaked me out. Oh my gosh! Like I enhanced audio on it. You hear like thump thump thump, and we're all accounted for. So there was nobody on the first floor walking around.
Right.
Okay.
And I would like to also say, before you even got, Jackie and Renee upstairs, me and Troy in the basement, right as soon as the tour concluded, we heard a woman humming on that first floor. And I looked at Renee,
Yes.
and I said, was that you? I said, 'cause you know, sometimes you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that wasn't me. And I said, was that you, Jackie? And she's like, I think I was just talking to myself. I said, no. That was a woman humming.
No, even Trey said he heard it too, because we all kind of
Heard it,
stopped
yes.
and we were like, where's that humming coming from?
Trey heard it. Landon heard it.
Above us, not distinctly above us, almost like, it's around. And then Landon too. Landon was also with Trey when Troy and I heard the footsteps. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so Rowdy, who gave us the tour, his name is Chris, he gave us the tour with Trey, he's gone. This other girl that was with him, she's gone. Amy, who's the owner of the printing press, she's gone. And now it's just Trey, Landon, and all the four of us. Trey and Landon are on the second floor in the control room. Troy and I are in the basement. Jackie and Renee are in the kids' room. And we hear that footsteps. And I radio Trey, and he's like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So Troy and I are in the basement. And mind you, it's pitch black down there. The only light that we have is from the light from the floorboard above us. You just see one little beam of light. And then our REM pod lights. And me being me, I'm like, all right, there's a woman down here. I don't know what your name is. I don't know who you are, but I think you're a slave. And I said, this question's going to be very, very controversial, but are you an enslaved black woman? And I'm hearing things, and I'm picking up on this woman, and I say, all right, for some reason, I'm getting the name Rit. Is your name Rit? R-I-T-T. Can you confirm that for me? I say, my name's Nick, and this is Troy, and our friend Trey, he just came down. Is your name Rit? And I have the EVP going, and I stop it, and I play it back, and I literally grab Trey, and I say, listen to this. And it's this older black woman, southern drawl. Yeah. After I say, is your name Rit? Wow. So that entire night afterwards, I'm communicating with this woman. Later on, I'm driving home after the investigation's done and saying Rit. What the hell kind of name is Rit? Why am I coming in contact with Rit? So I get home and I'm messaging Jackie and I'm messaging Renee and I say, I have a really weird feeling that we came in contact with an enslaved woman here. I'm going to try to do some names. Is Rit a popular slave name? Sure enough, Renee types it in. It's on our Instagram. We had a reel. Was Rit a popular slave name? Harriet Rit Green Ross pops up. Ooh. Which is Araminta Minty Ross, Harriet Tubman's own mother. So I came in contact with Harriet Tubman's own mother. She's on our Instagram page, and the whole EVP that we have of her, it sends chills down my spine. The Estes method that I did freaked me out. $500 reward, full name, find her. I'm tapping on, there's a door, and there's like a little slave quarters area, and I kept hitting it. And it's almost boom, 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 boom. It's a full name, Rit. And you hear Jackie say, is it a full name? Like, she's asking, what's your name? I'm saying 3 letters. Three.
No, I asked, how do you spell it? Is it R-I-T or R-I-T-T? And you responded with the number 3, meaning R-I-T. And actually, I was not to correct you, but I was the one that connected the dots. Actually, we were at home the next day and it was bothering me because I'm like, Rit doesn't sound like, I've never even heard that name before, right? I'm like, is that really a slave name? Like, I've never heard of anybody named Rit. Yeah. So all I typed in was, is Rit a slave name? And the first, like you said, the first thing that came up was Harriet Rit. Yeah. Green, who is Harriet Tubman's mother. So did we connect with that Rit or a different Rit? But at least we have some kind of confirmation that it was common back then in that era to call a woman named Harriet Rit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which that was not known to me before.
Throughout the night.
Yeah.
She kept coming through, like, after we heard the voice up in the children's room, we were radioing, and then Nick was coming in saying, hey guys, I'm getting a name by the, Rit coming through. And then, but throughout the night, that name just kept coming up a lot.
And I think a good thing to mention too is we kind of try to do some solos afterwards, and I got the basement. So I'm sitting in the basement, and I'm freaked out.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's down there with me, somehow this damn cat got in the basement. So she's there. I'm looking at the cat. I'm like, all right, you're there. Stop moving. It's not you. You're not moving. There's something moving in this basement. Got so freaked out to the point where I picked up that radio and I said, Renee, I need you to come down here with me. And Renee, she's like, all right, I'll be right there. 5 minutes later, here she is. We're sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
And I don't really get scared on investigations. I was freaked out. Something came this close to me. And I'm like, all right, Renee's right there. The cat is now somewhere in the rubble pile of whatever. She's somewhere down here. So who is in front of me? And again, I asked the same question. You're a slave. You're here. Why are you in front of me right now? I can see you. And I don't know why you're communicating with me, but you're in front of me. And all I saw was ragged, teared clothing.
Ooh.
And just wild. She looked manged, like mangy hair. It was a mess. She had on it was a beautiful big necklace that I saw, and just, it was your typical escaped slave clothing. And I knew she was black, obviously. I knew it's this southern woman here, and I don't know what she's doing here.
Yeah.
But upon doing more research about, Harriet Tubman and Rit and Jackie, actually found out that Harriet Tubman passed through that part of Pennsylvania to get to freedom.
I mean, it is possible. So if you read where Rit, her mother, wound up residing in upstate New York, actually, I'm sorry, they got to Canada first, and then she wound up passing away in New York. But if you read the story with Harriet Tubman and her mother, at some point she went down to Maryland to get her mom, to bring them to safety, or to get them to freedom. And I kind of looked up, okay, well, how far is this town in Maryland from Columbia, Pennsylvania? And if you follow the waterway, which they do, it takes you right up the Susquehanna to get to and then I'm like reading, they would follow the Susquehanna to get to Canada. So it is very possible they passed through there. So, and then there's an area of the mansion they call the slave quarters, which I'm not sure why they call it that. Is that where slaves would have stayed during their passage? I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Or unless they had servants there who were, freed slaves, and, servants aren't allowed in common areas of the home. You're only allowed to that back section. This is your section. This is what you clean. Mm-hmm. But what you're saying, Jackie, makes more sense. It's kind of like a hideout. Wait here until I get you, until we can go.
Yeah, yes. And I think the mansion's also tied to Stephen Smith, was it? And from reading about him, I mean, he was in the same circle with Harriet Tubman. So, yes. So it's very possible. Again, we can never confirm this 100% that it was really Harriet Tubman's Rit, but it was. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of a woman named Harriet being called Rit before. I don't know if any of you have. I don't think any of us had until that night. And I thought that was a pretty random name for him to come up with. So, yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, that is really interesting. Go ahead, Nick.
It was just, the entire night, as soon as I walked in, like I said, I knew it was tied to the Underground Railroad. Obviously, I know the story of Harriet Tubman. Am I going to put her in that part of Pennsylvania? I don't know. I'm not. I'm not going to go in there looking for Harriet Tubman. It's not what I came here to do. And then to come in contact with that and then ask Trey about it and say, oh yeah, have him even tell us, yeah, I saw the same woman that you're kind of describing, yet she was naked on all fours, crawling around. And I'm like, okay, so there's something here. Yeah. And I've even asked my friends about it who've been there, Sarah Grimm being one of them. She's with Beyond the Walls Paranormal and Interstate Paranormal, who are also another group who go there. They've experienced something like that on the second floor, kind of where the children's room is and where the slave quarters is in that area. This woman, elemental kind of woman thing that kind of crawls around. So I don't know who it is or what it is, but that was the first time that I ever picked up on something that severe and, that historical, basically.
Yeah.
She kind of followed us through the entire night after that.
You're going to say something, Troy, or?
No, I'm good.
I just am fascinated by that. I'm on your Instagram page and looking through things, which I'll share with all my spooky friends so they can go check it out. But go to their Instagram page, you can see it. That is, I mean, you guys are so lucky because a lot of times, like I've talked to different paranormal groups, they just haven't got nothing, right? You guys know that you just go, this is, but you guys to get all this stuff is amazing. I mean, I'm glad you guys brave experience. I don't know if I like a woman walking on all fours.
Yeah, it was definitely, for me, I kind of got overstimulated to a point. And then when I was looking at the slave quarters, there's 2 X's on the back door. And I forget what Chris said and what Trey said about where that actually goes. Do you remember what he said, Jackie? You know what I'm talking about? The door with the X's on it. Where does that actually go to? Where does that lead to?
I think somewhere down in
I
the.
don't think they know.
Yeah, like I don't. That's that thing too. Like I don't remember. I think he said something, but again, I'm not positive. But looking into that, those X's on that door have been there forever. They're not
Wow.
new. They're not spray painted. It's almost like they're either carved in there or they're put on there as a spell. And looking into the whole history of voodoo and black magic and slavery,
Sure.
when you put X's on doors, it's kind of, we're going to protect it and we're going to seal what's in here. And the only way to get it removed is by doing a black magic curse or doing some sort of ritual on it. But I didn't feel anything negative. I didn't feel anything demonic.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask.
Sometimes, you get the whole voodoo and demons, but
Yeah.
I think it was just, energy just passing through, and maybe they're there because that's all they know and that's their way to freedom and they want to
Yeah.
just communicate. It's sort of like, the route that they traveled, the route well known. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Right. And there's just so much
definitely cool.
pain. Yeah. It's so much pain and misery. Just knowing that, think about it. You could be getting caught anytime. I mean, you are basically sitting there knowing my master or their lynch mob could come in, catch me, find the nearest tree, not to be too graphic, but this is the true history, folks. Find the nearest tree, lynch you, throw you up that tree. And they don't care you're a man, woman, or child. Don't care. Imagine just sitting there and just be like, you're so scared. And as we know, energy does not go away. It dissipates, but it goes into things, right? The walls,
Exactly.
the table, whatever you want to say, right? So all that energy is there, and you go in there and you're like, hey, I want to bring some of it out. And being overstimulated. I was just going to say, did any one of you have to take a break? Did any one of you go like, okay, I got to chill out and walk outside and
No,
have a beer or whatever, smoke, whatever you wanted to do? No?
no.
Wow.
Other
I
than
know.
it being super cold, we had to take
Yeah,
breaks.
it was very cold.
But
Yeah, that was the only time. It was just to come down to get warm. It was
It
very
didn't
cold.
it didn't have a heaviness to it.
Yeah.
Like some places like Villisca. I'm trying to think about, like, Penhurst has a heavy vibe to it.
Yes.
It just felt like you kind of walked in and you knew it was going to be an interesting night. Like you could just feel it was energized, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But no, there is one other thing that we caught too. Troy was very much about getting his static cam set up, and you left one up in the secret attic?
Yeah, it was in the slave quarters or the servant quarters. They had this kind of like secret attic to hide out in up there, almost like a panic type room. And at the beginning, I had taken up my night vision camera and I left 3 cat balls up there. And they didn't go off or anything like that, but we heard an EVP.
During like a transition period when we were kind of figuring out where to go next. Yeah.
And you could hear them talking like down below. This is like 3rd floor. Think of it, 3rd floor. They were on the 2nd floor trying to determine like how they want to set up their equipment and everything. And then over top of that, you hear what sounds to be like a very, very excited child, just like I don't even know what they say, but that's also on the Instagram page. If any of you have any
It was
idea.
like a whooping noise, and it almost sounded like cookie, like, oh, cookie. It was when you really, really, like, you turn the sound all the way up and you listen to it, you can hear like the cookie, like at the end. It's really.
It's like
Which
a
is
child voice
interesting
that like it's really high pitched at
because
one
Trey
point.
was telling us
sound
they like.
it.
Yes, and Trey was telling us they like cookies because if you watch an episode of My Haunted Manor on their YouTube, there is an EVP they got of a little child going, it's something like chocolate chip, woohoo! And other people who have seen these episodes, somebody commented on that, and she goes, it sounds just like the Cookie Kid. And I knew what she was talking about because I'd seen that clip. And I mentioned it to Trey too, and he was like, yeah, you're right. It sounds like the same kid, which is nuts, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the cookie go. It's the Cookie Kid ghost.
Yeah, and that was only picked up on audio. We didn't hear that with our own ears. So that was just on Troy's static camera.
Class EVP right there.
Yeah. Nick, you were going to say something? I'm sorry.
I just said that's like a Class A EVP right there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. I always thought you guys were going to grab your pizza and be like, want some pizza? Who doesn't like pizza? I don't know. But I guess cookies is what you guys have to do.
They do like cookies.
That is awesome. Anything else you guys want to share with us before we wrap up?
Not that I remember. I mean, we're still going through audio from that night. Just little interesting things here and there. But I think from what we've caught already, the big things we've posted on our Instagram page.
Yeah. I'm overstimulated and definitely want to have you guys back on to see what other findings you got. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but you guys are really lucky. This is just my personal opinion to have the experiences that you had. Because, you know, people don't understand. I have people emailing me and be like, oh, you know, I'm thinking of joining a group, paranormal group, or starting my own. And I always say, listen to my episodes. There's all these amazing groups I have on there who are the best of the best. Please reach out to them. If you're in their area, maybe they can help you get it started, or maybe they can give you some good pointers. But the main thing I always tell people is like, you listen to my podcast and you hear these amazing stories, just unbelievable stories that are just awesome. But remember, you know, there are times you just go, oh man, we drove 4 hours for this. And, you know, boy, okay.
It happens.
But yeah, it happens, right? So just, you know, people listening to this, because like I said, I have people reaching out to me and asking me that. But this, I mean, all I can say is wow. I don't have the words for it because it's just, and I'm so happy for you guys because, you know, I love all you guys. You guys are the greatest. And I love that this happens to you because, again, it's usually unfortunately, the bigger people getting everything. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
I call them bagel bites. Zach Baggins. I'm not a fan if you can't figure it out. So we all call him bagel bites. Anyway, you know, he's made a fortune off of this, which is fine. Good for him. I love it. You know, he did what he had to do. But I love when groups like you find all this great stuff to share with people. Because again, I still have skeptics reaching out to me and they're like, and I to be honest with you, I delete them off Instagram, Facebook and stuff because I'm like, if you're going to be hateful, come on.
You know where they need to go? Stay in the Sarah Black room.
Yeah, stay in the Sarah Black room.
There we go. I will tell them that, Troy. I'll be like, hey guys, go to the Sarah Black room. If you think this is all bullshit, go to there. And then let's see how you change your mind. Or to Jackie or your husband going,
I was going to say, if anyone has anything negative to say, don't worry. My husband's already said it and pointed it out, which is very infuriating when you're the one experiencing it. And you know, none of these people in my group would ever fake evidence. We would never do something. We wouldn't lie to you. Nothing's edited. We don't even know. Half the time,
we don't know how to edit.
We don't know how to do I think me discovering Veed.io was like the game changer. Learning how to like edit some of these videos just to cut it down so you don't have to listen to an hour's worth of evidence and just get to the nuts and bolts of what we want you to hear. That's the only editing we do. Like, so if there's a clip on Instagram, that's because I cut out 30 minutes of BS and then you can actually hear the action, because no one has an attention span anymore. Let's be real, right? They're not going to watch an hour's long YouTube investigation. They're going to watch what actually happened. So it's funny because I mentioned the whole Rit thing to my husband, like told him the whole story beginning to end. His only logical explanation was, well, maybe Nick knew about the name Rit beforehand. And I'm like, no, he didn't. Like, we've been investigating with him for 4 years. Like, he's never once come up with the name
brought
Rit.
it up.
Like,
no, and we went into the Samuel Miller mansion completely blind, meaning we didn't want to know any of the haunted stuff that was going on. We wanted just the historical tour, but we didn't want to know names or any of the spirits that, came through for other investigators that were there. So, we just went in completely blind.
Yeah. I mean, specifically told Trey, don't tell us anything paranormal. We didn't even want to know the name of the doll. I mean, come on.
And then when I mention it to people, like my friends in this field, I get, oh, well, you already know about it from everybody else. And I said, no, you're actually very, very, very wrong. Like, yeah, my friend Sarah Grimm has been there multiple times, and her and I've conversed about, hey, what have you experienced there? Her exact words are, I'm not telling you what I witnessed because I want you to figure it out yourself.
And that's the way it should be.
And then when I told her about Rit, she's like, okay, so you experienced the black woman too. You experienced the thing that people have picked up on, but you're also the first one to get a name out of it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something there, and I think skeptics need to experience. They got to experience it to change their mind. I mean, walk through that house, walk through it blindfolded or with somebody who knows it, and see what you pick up on. That's kind of what I tell people. And Jackie, Renee, and Troy, you've also seen me do this, where I run my hand along the wall, and I'm like, all right, we're stopping here. There's something here. And then 9 times out of 10, it happens.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
I don't, again, you believe what you want to believe, but, I always tell people, like, people know at work I'm into the paranormal, so they'll come up to me and they'll be like, listen to this episode, or I think, I've had a couple of people, I think the house is haunted or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, I know a lot of people in the paranormal field, so I can put you in touch with them and, reach out to them. And they can immediately come in and say, what's your furnace? Like, or you need an exterminator, you got mice in the walls, or there's something really here. You know what I mean? And that's what that's why I love having you guys on, because you always have high integrity. That, like Jackie said, you guys are not editing things except to get the standing there with holding the thing. Nobody wants to see, all you guys holding the recorder for like half an hour going, oh, hey, we got something. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
To go back to what you said about us being lucky, I mean, I gotta say, like, between Gettysburg and my haunted manor, which happened 2 nights in a row, I mean, we were pretty lucky to have all that happen. I mean, that was the most action I think we've gotten in a really long time. And also, anyone getting into this, you have to understand it is exactly like fishing. Some nights you go, you get fish. Some nights you go, you don't catch anything. And that's just how it is. And I always like to tell people you have to go into it with the spirit of adventure and friendship at the core of it. Yep. Because
absolutely,
like you said, we drove, what was it, Radford, Virginia for
St. Albans, I think.
I know, I would like erase the name of the place from my memory. I mean, we went all the way down there, 6-hour drive that turned into an 8-hour drive, deep South Virginia, middle of nowhere for St. Albans.
No lights on roads.
Yeah.
Whoa, and nothing.
It was a dud for us, okay? But we loved the bed and breakfast we stayed in. If anything, we got an EVP there. And it was just like the whole traveling down there, the people we met along the way. Like, we still talk about it years later. The little IHOP employee. No, was it Waffle House?
Waffle House.
Colton.
We still think about you, Colton. Did you ever get out of that small town? But it's stuff like that. That's what keeps us going and why we do this.
Yeah. You also have to think about, the places that you're investigating. You're a part of history. You're learning about history, and you're uncovering something.
Yes.
So
yes,
I love that
absolutely.
aspect of it.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, again, you guys are the best. This has been awesome. Can't wait to put this out. I think you guys are always in my top 10 of most downloaded episodes. I think this one might hit number 1.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jinx it.
We can only hope. When are you going to come visit us? You need to come to Pennsylvania.
I want to do that. I want to do that so bad. I'm going to figure it out one of these days. And you guys are going to take... Now, listen, I've been honest with all of you guys. You're going to have to hold my hand when a scary thing happens and not have me run through the wall like a cartoon thing and be like, where'd John go? You guys have to be like, it's okay, John. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to be okay. You. Sage him. Because just my luck.
Yeah.
It's my luck. Like a demon will enter me. I'm like, son of a...
I mean, hey, put you in the Devon basement at Penhurst. You might encounter Dave. You never know.
Boy, someone's really going to have to hold my hand. But anyway, yes, I would definitely figure that. I've been telling, I want to go on a tour around the country because I've had a bunch of different paranormal people, hey, come on, we'll do an investigation together. I'm saying, yes, I would love to do a live one if we could figure that out sometime. I know that's kind of hard sometimes with technology. Can't really carry a laptop or whatever, your phone, and be holding it for like 2 hours, but we can figure something out like that. But I did some things last year that I just tried them with just some group. I did some roundtables. I want to do some roundtables with you guys where I invite groups of paranormal investigators. It was fun because last year I had a couples. So I had couples who investigate together, married couples.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was hilarious because I just said, how do you guys, when you're arguing, do the ghosts tell you to shut up? When you're going, no, you know what I mean? Because married couples argue. Come on. It's part of being married. Hopefully not too much. But it was really interesting because they were talking about, they take it home with them. They're married. So they come home and they're like, oh, this happened to me or that happened to me. And I thought that was an interesting roundtable. And, I had one couple from Canada, one couple from New York, one couple from Florida. So that's what I want to do. I want to bring groups together. So I want to have if you guys would like to, I'd love to have you as part of that. Have bigger groups together and you guys talk about your experiences because it's always fun. We had a great time because everybody was mentioning things like, oh, I had this and did you try this? We've tried this. Maybe you guys try that.
That's cool.
And it was just great. We had a great time. And then we played a newlywed game. So if you guys know the newlywed game, I played the newlywed couple game with them, but I did a paranormal twist on it and that was really funny. Like who would be the first one to cry out if they see a full apparition? Like who would be the first one to if there was a demon in there, would be the first one to run? And it was funny that the answers that I got from the couples. They're like, whatever. And then I had one of the couples, she has a full room of cursed dolls. She has one room in their house, just nothing but cursed dolls. And she's like, totally cool with it. Totally cool. Her
we know
husband's
someone like that.
And her husband's like, what am I going to do? She wants to buy it. I can't. I'm like, okay.
John, you should be a vendor at Paracon and do a live show at one of the Paracons. That would be interesting.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, they have the Penhurst Paracon in May, and then Crescent. By the way, there's a group taking over Crescent. They're doing a Paracon in June. So, yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, guys. Oh, by the way, if I come down there, that means you guys got to come up here. And I know some spooky areas here. One of the areas I would love to take you guys to is where Ed Gein's house used to be. And it's a barren field right now. It's a barren field. And just really quickly, I've tried talking to people and 2 hours from my house, but women who go to that place say they feel touched. So there you go, Renee and Jackie, like their hair being pulled, like being touched in a tree. It's Ed Gein, and this is all his energy and stuff that went into this. well, it's in this field now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty place. So awesome. So really quickly, what do you guys got coming up here? And then, we'll wrap it up.
Well, we are definitely going back to my haunted manor in the next couple of weeks. And then from there, I know in March we have some time that we need to plan for. It's just hard to decide where to go.
Yeah.
There's so many
Yeah.
options.
So
There's
Yeah,
a
you're
lot of
gonna keep it open.
options.
Yeah, but you guys had such a great experiences. I hope you go back to Gettysburg, can get back there and like you said, switch the house, Sarah Brown house, right? Sarah Brown room, excuse me. And then you and Jackie could be touched and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That was a great experience. So thank you so much again. You guys are awesome. I love you guys so much, and we'll definitely have you on. Like I said, maybe do some roundtables. Maybe I can get out there, investigate with you guys. Hopefully sooner than later. I
Yeah.
would love that.
It'll be fun.
Yes, you can stick me in the bottom of the prison and have me freak out, but who knows? Maybe I'll get used.
I think you'll survive.
All right. Well, yeah. Again, thank you so much. You guys are always the best. I'll let you know when the episode drops, and I'll keep you guys in touch.
All right.
all
Thank
the
you.
Thanks for having
which
us
I
on,
would
John.
share.
Thank you for having
Take
us. Thank
care.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
John.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.